Hey, what's up, everybody? Fred Minnick here. I'm about to jump into some Solomon Scott. Look at that right here. This is coming from the fine folks at Spirits of French Lick. Now, this is named after an Ohio Valley legend. It is 68% rye, 35% corn, 5% 5% malt. It is bottled and bond, pot distilled at the actual distillery at Spirits of French Lick. Now, if you've seen this before, you've seen the channel before, you know I'm a big fan of Spirits of French Lick. They won my best non-Kentucky bourbon a couple years ago, and they do a really great job of distillation and letting the grains speak for themselves. So I'm a big fan of the flavor of grain in whiskey. A lot of people don't like grain. They just want to taste the sweetness from the barrel. But I want to see what that grain tastes like, see how it develops. I really like the taste of breads and savory notes. I like a jiffy cornbread note. I like a wheat bread. I like toasted rye bread. I like those notes in whiskey. I really, really do. A lot of people do not, and so that's why you see a lot of people go south on something that's 4 years old. I can find and appreciate something that's 4 years old. Now, does that mean I'm going to bust out $1,200 for it? Oh, goodness gracious. Absolutely not. I'm not going to be spending crazy money on something like that, but I appreciate and I actually respect and at times love those grainier bourbons. So I'm going to jump into this. This is a rye. It's bottled and bond. And this has got a really, detailed back label. If you want to check that out, there you go right there. You can read that there. He's learned all about Mr. Solomon Scott. And I will say, too, that this image of him on there, he looks like Mr. Scott. Let's see if I can get a good angle for you. He looks like a villain in Batman. So he looks like a guy that would have pissed off Batman and would have gotten his ass kicked a time or two. So here we go. Okay, so right off the bat, you can tell it's very young. It smells like a fresh bag of horse feed, like that sweet feed. So like think of like molasses covering some like raw grains, the kernels of grains like oats, rye, things like that. If you raised horses or grew up around horses, you know that smell. But if you were not raised around animals, if you didn't grow up on a farm or something like that, it's hard to describe what sweet feed smells like. But that is definitely what it smells like to me. Definitely has some sweetness in here. It has a kind of a menthol note. There's some mint, like a menthol cigarette. It's got a lot of mintiness in here, a lot of herbs, but there's a black licorice note. And then underneath that is a small current of sweetness. I would say staying on that peppermint thing, like a hard peppermint mint. Maybe a peppermint patty with a little bit of chocolate there. But really, really herbally on that mint side. And then there's just a touch of spice. I'm going to taste that again. Not quite feeling it on the finish. The finish is not advancing for me like I would like. It's pretty short, actually. But the lingering note that is there is a nice black licorice note. So if you like licorice, if you like mint, if you like those herbal notes, I think you'll love this. It does not. When I was thinking about this, looking at the grain bill, I was thinking I was going to get a piece of like rye bread. I did not. Instead I get more of a kind of an old-fashioned, flavor profile of a rye, and that the rye grain seems to kind of created more herbally notes than rye itself. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. And I have not tasted a lot of rye whiskeys from Spirits of French Lick, so that makes me wonder if that could be their house profile for rye. I know their four grain quite well. I know their brandy quite well, but this is one of the first ryes of theirs that I have tasted. So this could be their house profile. There's nothing off in this. There's nothing in here to say like, oh God, it's gross. It's got a craft note or blah. Nothing like that. It's when I taste this, it just is. It is what it is, and it's definitely going down a different style of rye that I think a lot of people are going to be accustomed to. But if you like black licorice, you will love Solomon Scott. That's my final word. That's going to do it for this tasting video. If you would like to see more, click that like button and hit subscribe. And if you've tasted something from Spirits of French Lick, put it in the comment section. I'd like to know what you have tasted. I'll give it a read and maybe even comment back. But that's going to do it here, folks. And remember, vodka sucks unless it's being used for hand sanitizer. Cheers, y'all.